Welcome to the Somos Sunnyside podcast, brought to you by the Office of Public Information, where we are sharing stories about the bright side of education.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the 24-25 school year. We are so excited to kick off our podcast, Somos Sunnyside. That's right, we are Sunnyside, and we have a special guest, as all our guests are special, but a super special guest today. We have the honor of having athletic director of Sunnyside High School, also the head soccer coach of Sunnyside High School, Casey O'Brien, with us today. How you doing, Mr. O'Brien?
I'm doing really good. Just got out of the weight room, had a nice practice, so can't complain.
So, the life of a coach, right? It's I think you're pulling double duty, and you see that more often now. Before, I think back in the good old days, in the old days when I went to school, you had athletic directors that weren't head coaches, probably former head coaches, and now it's super common to see head coaches also being athletic directors. And so, I know that's a tough balance, right? In terms of balancing the time you put in with your team and the balance of making sure you're serving every athletic program on campus. And so talk to us a little bit about that.
So it is kind of like a new thing, and there's a lot of good ADs right now that are also coaches. Like Shannon Woolridge at Empire just won a state championship for softball. Like, there's some incredible people. Steve Botkins at Saguaro, he's in the hunt every year for girls basketball. So it's you definitely kind of lean on some of those people. The biggest thing is time management, because for the soccer program, obviously, like, I never wanted to take anything away from them becoming an athletic director. So you just basically have to figure out how all of your free time outside of that can be dedicated to the student athletes and to the coaches. And I think that's been probably the biggest transition for me, but it's something that I was good at in the past. So it's been an easy transition for me just to dedicate my free time to that. And you just have to be available. That's the biggest thing, because like sports aren't during the day. Like during class you can get a lot done, but you got to be available at night. You got to be willing to pick up the phone on the weekend. If you have invitational stuff like that, you got to be there. And I mean, I like being there, so it actually works out well for me, because it keeps me busy, and as long as I get to see my family, it all works out.
That's right. And so, I know coaching brings a lot of sacrifices. Not to toot my horn, but I coached for about 12, 13 years when I was in the classroom and did some coaching at Sunnyside High School, and so there is definitely a fine balance, and there's no such thing as just being an in-season coach nowadays. You got to coach year-round, and student athletes got to be year-round student athletes. There's just so many programs out there. They're active when they're in school, they're active when they're in club, out of season, in season, and so it is definitely year-round. And one of the things, and I can't believe we're back in school now. It's just, I always say it doesn't feel right till the kids are walking on the campuses and your teachers and staff are back on the campuses. And one of the things we want to highlight today is just the success that Sunnyside High School has had, in terms of their athletic programs. I mean, it brings a big smile to my face every year when, not only do we support all of our student athletes and when they're being competitive and winning, that's great. But more importantly is what they earn from being an athlete, and more importantly, being a student athlete. And so one of the trends we've been seeing over the past several years, and I know our student athletes don't get enough credit for this, our coaches don't get enough credit for this, and Sunnyside High School doesn't get enough credit for this, is they are earning athletic scholarships, right? And so we've seen a lot of success in our students, and our message here is to encourage our students to get involved, right? Our students to get involved in whatever their desires are, whatever that passion is for them. But for many of our students, it's athletics. For others, it's the fine arts and other extracurricular activities. And I believe in this piece of school connectedness. I've said it before, where there's something that brings kids to school every day, right? There's something, and sometimes it's that sport, it's that music program, whether it's mariachi, folklorico, football, soccer, wrestling. Sometimes it's that special adult that motivates them, right? And sometimes it's a coach, a counselor, a teacher. And so I just want to talk a little about why has Sunnyside why are they having the success that they've had the last several years? Is there a secret sauce out there? Is there a secret formula? And but I love it, and it doesn't get enough credit. And I want to talk a little bit about that and highlight those amazing stories today.
Yeah, so obviously I'm biased, but basically going by the numbers of student athletes that we have promoting to the next level to be college athletes, college student athletes, and also the success of our programs in the postseason and in state. I mean, we're arguably a top 3 athletic department right now, and I mean, it would be nice to say that that's because of me, but it's really not. It's as you know, really everything is run by the people around you. It's all about the coaches, and the coaches are the one that connects with the kids. And so I think we're really fortunate to have coaches that we do on campus. Like you said, they go above and beyond. I mean, it's not in season. They're all pretty much year round, and they connect with their kids all around. And all year long, they're tracking them, like where their grades at, where their heads at, even where their families at. Like all of our coaches are more involved than just the game. And I think that that's kind of started to breed success for us because the kids are so comfortable with their coaches now, and they show up and they put in that work with me and they go through it because I think we have like a connection that's off the field, and they're willing to do that. So the coaches that we've hired at Sunnyside and the coaches that we've had returning, I mean, they're amazing. They're incredible people. They connect.
That's right. So, and I definitely want to highlight how competitive our programs are and how far they've come. I mean, I know obviously everybody knows Sunnyside wrestling, right? Everybody knows the dynasty, the state championships, and they deserve everything that comes their way. They deserve all that credit, but sometimes other programs get overlooked because it's just Sunnyside wrestling has been consistent for so long. They've been doing it for years now, for decades, right? And so I do want to highlight the success of our programs because every year we have programs that are competing for championships. They're in the playoffs and they have an opportunity to reach the ultimate level, right? There's one state champion at the end of the year, just one, right? And our programs are right there. They're right there. They're competing for it. And one is your soccer program. You're a state champion coach. I know you're giving credit to other ADs right now, and I'm biased. I just care about our ADs, but we have you have a state championship program, and you've been in that game a couple times, and you've been nationally ranked, and so and I'm talking about this because it's soccer, it's wrestling. Our softball girls are always competing in the playoffs. Our baseball team is competing in the playoffs. Our basketball team, I believe, won a conference championship last year, our girls basketball,
mm-hmm. Yep.
and they competed in the playoffs. And so, winning's contagious, right? Winning is contagious, and winning attitudes are contagious. And I just want to recognize the job these coaches are doing, and recognize our student athletes and the support from parents, because without parent support, it's difficult, right? And so, one of the things that I talk a lot about is that student athletes, and I'm biased because I was a former student athlete as well, but that was like my ticket to college. That's probably the only reason I went to college is somebody offered me a scholarship. And so they don't get enough credit for what they do in the classroom. I want to focus on the double duty and the balance you talked about earlier, that young people have to perform every day, right? So when you talk about our student athletes, they have to get it done in the classroom. These prestigious universities and junior colleges and whether Division I, II, or III, they just don't give scholarships away. The first thing they ask is, what kind of person is this individual? What kind of grades does this individual have? And we have to fit the bill, and our kids continue to fit this bill of checking all those boxes. And so, not only do they have to perform in the athletic arena, they have to perform in school. And so, tell us a little bit about that, because that's a mindset, right? That's a mindset, and that's a culture that has been built at Sunnyside and by every coach in every program.
Yeah, so I mean, like you're speaking about wrestling, and I obviously everybody is allured by you see the state titles, and that's what draws you in, and you see how incredible that dynasty is. But the thing that I think a lot of people need to start highlighting now is when you see kids signed to Cornell, you see kids signed to West Point, to Air Force, to Lehigh. I mean, those are institutions that's hard to get in as just a student. And I mean, I think it's incredible that they even have the academic requirements to get into that school, much less get an academic athletic scholarship to that school. So I mean, that's something that the wrestling program doesn't get enough credit for, is that their kids are actually doing it in both places, and the amount that they practice, that's incredible. We have a ton of kids that are doing the same in other sports too. Like Sebastian Barrios was on my team last year. He's going to St. Mary's in August. That's a Division I soccer school. I mean, they have very tough admissions. He had a 4.3 GPA. I mean, one of the top players in the state, dedicated his time to the classroom and the field, and it paid off for him. We had 20 kids signed from Sunnyside last year, which is one of our biggest signing classes that we've had in recent memory. And I mean, every single one of those kids was able to do both, and they were able to balance both, and they knew the importance of academics, and they knew that the academics were what were going to actually get them where they wanted to go athletically. So I do think our coaches do a good job of training the kids to realize that you have to have both. It's not just one. You know, we tell them relentlessly that you got to have the grades to go with the talent, because talent can't take you anywhere without having everything else around it.
That's right, and coupled by character and being good people, right? And so, you know, I what's neat is, you know, wrestling again deserves all that credit. You know, you have the Audrey Jimenez, who's obviously everybody knows, and you know, just what she accomplished in her 4 years here, being a 4-time state champ, winning a state championship in the boys division, headed to Lehigh University. You know, you have 2 returning wrestlers, Sergio Vega on his way to Cornell, Carlos Stanton, Iowa State. You know, and then you have all these, you know, I call them the trendsetters, you know, because I do believe that certain athletes open doors for other athletes, right? And you start building these relationships with schools. You got Jesse Ibarra at Iowa. You got Sebastian Robles at Iowa. You know, Anthony Chimendia at Iowa State. You were talking about Sebastian, who was also, I believe, AIA, wasn't he AIA Player of the Year, Student of the Year?
Yeah, AIA Student Athlete of the Year, which is pretty cool because it only goes out to one kid through all conferences, divisions, everything.
Yeah, so it's huge, you know, and our baseball team, you know, I know Orlando Covarrubias is headed to Sac State University, and we have some other students, you know, headed to go compete in softball. Lauren Carbajal, you know, headed to Western New Mexico State University, and you got some up-and-comers in Tatiana Vega and Ashley Rossenhauser, who are probably going to definitely make some noise as well. And so I think, you know, one of the pieces that I want to cover as well, because, you know, I hope parents are listening to this. I hope student athletes are listening to this. We know parents have choices, right?
Right.
And what's your message to our parents, you know, and why they should choose Sunnyside High School for their athletic programs and also for the academic standing?
I mean, the message is pretty simple. I think for a while, everybody thought that maybe it was the best idea to take their kids elsewhere. And I mean, I don't really know where that stigma came from. It's crazy though, because once the kids come to campus, like our transfer rate going out is so small. Our transfer rate coming in is really high. And I mean, I don't tell parents anything that's not true. So when they come to talk to me about a program, I tell them they're going to have a coach that's going to be dedicated to their child. That coach is willing to talk to that parent and let them know what's going on and how they're doing. And that coach is going to work his butt off, you know, to make sure that this kid is provided for, has a program that they're proud of, and has a pathway to go wherever they want. And I mean, it's not even one sport for us. We have so many sports that are putting kids into college. I mean, so the athletic department as a whole is literally providing this opportunity. And like you said, success breeds success. So I think right now we have so many successful programs that some of our other programs are coming up with us at the same time. Like one of my favorite stories is girls basketball. I mean, they went from a program that had never even been in the postseason for a long time. You know, we're talking like a decade. And Justin Delgado is like one of the best coaches I feel like I've ever hired. He has them literally, they were a top 10 ranked team in the state last year. They made the Open. I mean, they made the 6A playoffs, and that's 2 years in a row, back to back, which for Sunnyside girls basketball is incredible. Yeah. And I mean, like those parents are excited to come. They're excited to be there. The soccer parents, they literally drop their kids off with me and they're like, here you go, coach, you know, and like they know that what we have to offer isn't rivaled by anybody else. And so I think they're just comfortable with what we're doing.
Absolutely. And so that's a great message for our parents. And not only do we compete athletically, but we're competing academically. You know, like Sunnyside High School is a strong B school, you know, working towards that A, but you know, a strong B, and they've made improvements over the years academically. And so it's a great school that offers a great academic experience. And, you know, when you talk about the college and career academies at Sunnyside High School, the graduation rates are strong. They got strong leadership, strong teachers, and teachers. Some of those teachers have been there for a long time, doing it a long time, and we know who they are. So a shout out to them and a thank you to them for all they do for our students. And you got adults that deeply care about kids, and that's probably the most important thing. It's not a job to them. It's something they're passionate about, and they care about outcomes. We talk a lot about the student experience and the impact that we can have on students each and every day. And that's happening at Sunnyside High School. So very proud of what's happening there. I'm a proud Blue Devil graduate myself, and I don't forget those people that inspired me and gave me the confidence to move forward, right? And some of those were classroom teachers, the Mr. Heinz of the world, and the different coaches that I had, Coach Sanchez, I had Coach Palomares, just Coach Fuentes, Coach Seward. I mean, those were people that just inspired you to do well, right? And it was about, being a good person. It was about being successful and really deeply caring about your success and your academic progress, because we knew that was the ticket, right? That was the ticket for a lot of us that couldn't afford college, right? And now I tell kids there's no excuse to go to college. Don't tell me you can't afford it. There's so many resources out there. But when you can get an athletic scholarship or an academic scholarship for that matter, it's the ticket, right? And it changes your life and it changes your trajectory. And so anything else you want to add, Coach O'Brien? And I know you're a humble person, and I want to thank you for everything you've done to change the culture at Sunnyside High School when it comes to student athletes, when it comes to athletics. Any other messages you have for our listeners?
Yeah, no, I got a couple. I'm really excited about this year, like you said. And like you're saying, people that have been there for a long time, like Phil Parks. Phil Parks has been the girls' tennis coach for I don't know how long, and he has incredible energy and enthusiasm. He has literally like 20 to 25 girls out there playing tennis, which on the South Side, that's not a sport you grow up playing for most of us. So, it's pretty incredible that he's able to do that.
Country club sport, right?
That's exactly what it is.
I know what you were thinking, Coach O'Brien.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, you're right. But he has so many girls that are out there doing it. And that's just crazy. It's incredible. And I was out there at girls soccer practice today. We have a new coach, Chris Bennett. And I was telling you earlier, like, his energy is just like contagious. I think it's going to be great for the kids. Girls basketball, what a rise, to be one of the top programs in the state, and it's consistent too. It's not even just 1 year. It's incredible. And another one, like, we all talk about wrestling, everybody thinks boys wrestling, but the girls wrestling program second in the state last year.
You're right.
And they've only been a program for what, 4 years,
That's
5
right.
years? Like, that's
They don't
incredible.
get enough credit. Yep. And I
crazy.
have failed to talk about them because you're right. They've been second place the last couple of years. They're peaking, right? They're right at the cusp there to break through and bring home a state championship. So.
They're right there. Yeah. And then another one, like Coach Carbajal. Ozzy was literally a run away from being in the quarterfinals. And you could argue and say like they were so close to being a state championship team because they lost by one run to the number 1 seed Red Mountain. And the 6A tournament, as we all know, is not easy. So for him to even be that far and that close and have his program like that close, losing his second pitcher too, right. What a job he did, I
was going to say what's impressive about that is they were down one of their starting pitchers who had an injury and missed the entire softball season, and even without the one pitcher, everybody else stepped up. And that's the neat thing about our students in this community, our student athletes in this community, is they're resilient, man. They step up to the plate and they take on the challenges, and they're going to put up a fight. They're not going to go down. I was going to say they weren't going to go down swinging, but we don't want them to be swinging.
No swinging.
All right, no swinging. But they're fighters and they're winners, and that's what this community is all about. And so those parents and those listeners that are thinking about, where should I send my kid to high school, come pay us a visit, right? Come talk to coaches, visit our campuses, visit our program, visit the leadership team. We welcome you. We want students to have the ultimate experience, and I think that's what you get at Sunnyside, and not only in the Sunnyside district, but definitely at Sunnyside High School, and you get that full experience, that student experience, which is important, right? And we prepare you not only academically, but prepare you to be successful in whatever you choose to do as you graduate from high school. And so And I say that with a lot of confidence because, you know, we earned nearly $30 million in scholarships as a district last year. You know, I know Sunnyside athletes earned, you know, over $1 million in
like 1.5 million, yeah.
1.5 million in scholarships, and you know, you guys do an amazing job of promoting your student athletes. I mean, I want you, before we end here, talk a little bit about the Student Athlete of the Month you have, which I think is super cool. We invite parents, the athletes, and more importantly, we invite students to be spectators there and see it, right? Because we want them to visualize themselves being successful. We want them to visualize themselves being successful. And so I want to thank Oscar Villa at Villa's Market, you know, who's a huge supporter in the community, huge supporter of Sunnyside athletics. And if you guys ever get a chance to shop there, not only is the food good, we'll give them a little plug for the tacos there. They got some great carne asada tacos. I'm getting hungry now, Mr. Coach O'Brien. But he just deeply cares about young people of this community, and hanging from the rafters of the store there is poster size posters of our student athletes with their names and their sport, and I love the signature they throw on there, the autograph. And he's probably got about 15 of them in there now, if not more, which is super cool, you know. And so talk a little bit about that, because I think it's important to not only, you know, like as we say, talk the talk, but walk the walk, right? I mean, not only do you have to push them and inspire them, but also when they deserve recognitions, you give them the recognitions.
Yeah, so they're basically family, so they're related to my wife. I was in there like quite a bit when they first opened the store. But they were literally the ones that came up with it. They're like, what can I do to support you? How can we help you? Like out of nowhere without asking for help or anything. Like the people at Villa's literally just wanted to be part of the community. And so we kind of brainstormed a little bit and we came up with this, the Athlete of the Month. So at first, like I told Ms. Ponce, I was like, I just want to highlight like our best athletes, because we have some kids that are incredible and like they don't really get recognition. So I wanted to invite every kid into the auditorium that was an athlete. So literally every team's invited during CCP. They come in, they watch the ceremony, we talk about the kids, the coach talks about the kid, and the kid gets to talk a little. You know, they get up there and try their best.
Public speaking's tough for young people.
Definitely something you got to learn. But it's been cool to highlight somebody. So we do a male athlete and a female athlete at every single one. And I mean, we've had just like, it's crazy the kids that have been up there, because like for me, I don't really write stuff. So I just show up and I talk about them. And then you start to think about all their accomplishments. And it's amazing as I'm talking about the kids, because you're talking about the school that they're signing to, the accomplishments that they had, like all region, all state, some of them all Americans. Like I'm signing to a Division I school. Even like our soccer player, one of my soccer players that was the last one, he was number 8 in the entire country in points scored.
What's his name? You got to give him a shout out.
Angel Bracamontes.
Bracamonte.
He's a super talented player, but if it wasn't for Athlete of the Month, like I really don't think many people would know, because it's not like they're tuned in paying attention. But I mean, to be number 8 in the entire country for, you know, goals and assists combined, that's pretty crazy. So like a kid like him, I was so happy to introduce him, not just because he's mine, but just because he's kind of like an uncovered gem. And so people at the school start to like hear, and they're like, oh my God, he has how many goals, how many assists? Oh, you guys are number 1 in the state. Like, because you know, we don't really like beat on our chest and walk around school and tell everybody. So it is also an opportunity for the programs to get a little bit noticed, you know, without having to like brag about themselves or boast, you know, be boastful. So it's cool to highlight that.
Yeah. Well, we got to brag, and we got to make sure that we put our story out, right? Because nobody else is going to do it for us. And so, you know, this is we're using this platform today to highlight the amazing things that are happening with Sunnyside athletics, and more importantly, the emphasis we have on being a complete student athlete, right? And so, you know, I want to thank you for all the work you do, and keep up the great work. I'm excited what the future brings for athletics, and what championships we're going to be competing for, because you never have enough of them, right?
No.
We want to hang some more banners up. We want to do some more board recognitions, and we want to make sure that our student athletes are being recognized and highlighted. So, you know, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Somos Sunnyside. Coach O'Brien, I want to thank you for coming on the show and just giving us a little insight on, you know, what it's like to be an athletic director and a head coach, and what the experience is like for our student athletes. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it entertaining. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share our podcast with la comunidad. For updates on future episodes and more, be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at susd12.org. We appreciate your support and can't wait to have you back for the next episode. Hasta la próxima vez en Somos Sunnyside.